All right. Slideshow. So this is one of the most important strands of the biology EOC, scientific inquiry. So like independent variable, dependent variable, experiments, observations, stuff like that. It is 17% of the test. So if you can do well on this, you're sitting pretty to at least hopefully do well on the other parts. All right, key things. Go ahead. You should have your notes packet in front of you. You need to write these notes down. If you can't fit all of them, the key ones I would focus on are just the actual definition. So write down what is white under observation and hypothesis. So observation, what is seen or measured. We're looking at it or we're measuring something. Hypothesis, very first thing we do before an experiment. It is a prediction about what you think is going to happen. So a good hypothesis has one cause and one effect. If we add in too many causes, we're going to screw up our results. Okay, inference is a conclusion. Also keep in mind, you should pause the video if you need to write down these notes. Inference is our conclusion. So based on evidence or observation or data that we gather, we're going to summarize it with a conclusion, whether or not our hypothesis was right. Theory is an explanation of different events that is supported by very strong evidence. So a lot of experiments have been done to prove it. A lot of data has been gathered. Theory is a big deal. It's not an opinion. Okay, so in that blank box below our definition box, I want you to go ahead and write these steps down. So steps to writing a good hypothesis. As long as you write down the first parts of the bullet point and not the cross out parts, you'll be fine. So a hypothesis is never a question. It is always specific and never uses the words effects. We have to use increase or decrease. It also has one cause and one effect. Key things to write here is this note about how to answer the questions that are going to ask you about this on the EOC. If a question is asking about a testable question, you want to look for the answer choice that you could collect data for. The one that you could collect data for is going to be the correct answer. So it is not an opinion. It's not what looks best. Okay. A convex mirror is a mirror that curves outward. Okay, it tells us that right off the bat. Which question about reflection by convex mirrors cannot be tested? Keyword here is cannot. This means that we want to look for the bad answer choice. We want to look for the bad answer choice. That's going to be our right answer. So which one of these cannot be tested? We take a look down here. The only one that looks like we could not gather data for. How do objects' distance affect the size? We know that that could be tested because we could change the distance and then measure the size. What curve should a convex mirror have for the passenger side mirror of a door or of a car? We could run an experiment for that. Do convex mirrors produce real or blurry images? We could run an experiment for that. Why do children find convex mirrors interesting? Interesting is an opinion. That cannot be tested. It is an opinion. Keeping in mind, we are looking for the bad answer. This one is the only opinion. That is the worst answer. So that is correct. Next one. A student poured a citric acid solution into a foam cup. So if your question has a bunch of words in front of it, you can jump down to the bottom to see what the question is asking you. So if we skip these lines and just read the last one to see what we're trying to answer, which question would not help determine why the temperature changed? Which one would not help determine why the temperature changed? So we are looking for the question that is bad, not, and temperature. So not temperature, which answer choice has nothing to do with temperature? A, how would the temperature be affected if water were added? If the answer choice mentions temperature, it has to do with temperature. So that's not right. B, does the mixture lose mass, indicating evaporation? We're talking about mass in this. We are not talking about temperature. Let's just make sure the other two are talking about temperature so we know the answer is B. C, how does the amount of baking soda affect the temperature? It mentions temperature. We know that is not what we're looking for. D, did the student feel the cup getting cold? Cold is a way to describe temperature. So the only one that does not mention temperature is B. All right. You can also go ahead and try those next three on your own. and then flip to experimental terms. Key things I want you to write down here. I already gave you this chart filled in on your notes, but write down the note at the bottom. If the question is asking about independent or dependent variable, look in the first sentence of the question. That's where you're going to find your answer. So our independent variable is what is being changed. This is the cause. Dependent variable is what is being measured. This is the effect. A controlled experiment compares the results of two different groups. So one group who gets the independent variable, or a bunch of groups that get the independent variable, and then a normal group. That normal group is our control. They do not get anything. They don't get the independent variable. We want the controlled group to be normal. They get everything that the experimental group does except for the independent variable. So the group that gets nothing is our control. Our constant, anything that is constant, is things that are kept the same throughout the experiment. All right, and then placebo is like a sugar pill or fake treatment that would be given to the control group if you're testing humans. All right, a scientist believes that mice exposed to radio waves will become extra strong. Right off the bat, we're looking for independent, dependent. We're going to look in our first sentence. Scientists believe that mice exposed to radio waves will become extra strong. Which one is our cause? What are we changing? We are changing the radio waves. That is what we can change. That's what our cause. Will become extra strong. Dependent variable is going to have to do with being extra strong, but more specifically, it is the strength of the mice. That's what we're testing. He decides to perform this experiment by placing 10 mice near a radio for 5 hours. He then compared these 10 mice to another 10 mice that had not been exposed. His test consists, so we have two groups of mice. One group who is near the radio for 5 hours, the other group who were not by the radio. So what is our control group? Our control group does not get the independent variable. So our control group is going to be the mice who do not get the radio wave. Our experimental group is going to be that other group of mice. They get the independent variable. So they are the mice who do get the radio wave. His test consisted of a heavy block of wood that blocked the mouse food. And then we have his results. He found that 8 out of 10 of the radio wave mice were able to push the block away. 7 of 10 of the other mice were able to do the same. So anything that is kept constant, so are things that are kept constant. Every mouse was exposed to the block of wood. There were 10 mice in each group, and they all had the same mouse food. Okay, let's try this one. Miss Webb wants to know if a new brand of sneaker can help our cheerleaders jump higher. What is our independent variable? Miss Webb wants to know if a new brand of sneaker can help our cheerleaders jump higher. Our independent variable is the name brand shoes, the brand of the sneaker. What are we measuring? We are measuring the dependent variable, their jump height, how high they can jump. Now it just says we're making a hypothesis. So we know that the easiest way to write a hypothesis is the if-then form. So we do if, then our independent variable, then our dependent variable. So if cheerleaders wear name brand shoes, then their jump height will increase. Go ahead, try those next 5 on your own in the packet, and feel free to see Ms. McGrath to have her check it. We're going on to graphing and recording data. Go ahead and write these notes down. Independent variable is always on the x-axis. That is always the horizontal, the one on the bottom. Dependent variable is always on the y-axis, the one that goes up and down. Key things we're looking for. We want to know if the independent and dependent variables are increasing, going up, or decreasing, going down. Here are our tips for how to answer these questions. Look at the numbers along the x and y axis. Make sure it matches with your data. Then you're going to also look at the labels of the x and y axis to make sure it fits with the data. All right. Which